Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Chapter 6. The Journey from Platform 9 3/4. Harry's last month with the Dursleys wasn't fun. True, Dudley was now so scared of Harry he wouldn't stay in the same room, while Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon didn't shut Harry in his cupboard, force him to do anything, or shout at him. In fact, they didn't speak to him at all. Half terrified, half furious, they acted as though any chair with Harry in it was empty. Although this was an improvement in many ways, it did become a bit depressing after a while. Harry kept to his room with his new owl for company. He had decided to call her Hagrid, a name he had found in a history of magic. His school books were very interesting. He lay on his bed reading late into the night, Hagrid sweeping in out for the open window as she pleased. It was lucky that Aunt Petunia didn't come in to hoover anymore, because Hagrid kept bringing back dead mice. Every night before he went to sleep, Harry ticked off another day of the piece of paper he had pinned to the wall, counting down to September 1st. On the last day of August, he thought he'd be better speak to his aunt and uncle about getting to King's Cross Station next day, so he went down to the living room, where they were watching a quiz show on television. He cleared his throat to let them know he was there, and Dudley screamed and ran from the room. Uncle Vernon? Uncle Vernon grunted to know he was listening. I need to be at Kincorns tomorrow to go to Hogwarts. Uncle Vernon grunted again. Would it be all right if you gave me a lift? Grunt. Harry supposed that meant yes. Thank you! He was about to go back upstairs when Uncle Vernon actually spoke. Funny way to get to a wizard school, the train. Magic carpets all got punches, haven't they? Harry didn't say anything. Where is the school, anyway? I don't know, said Harry, realizing this for the first time. He pulled the ticket Hagrid had given him out of his pocket. I just take the train from platform 9 3/4 at 11 o'clock, he read. He said, but an uncle stared. Platform what? 9 3/4. Don't talk rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. There is no platform 9 3/4. It's on my ticket. Barking, said Uncle Vernon. Howling mad, the lot of them. You'll see. You just wait. All right, we'll take you to King's Cross. We're going up to London tomorrow anyway. Or I wouldn't bother. Why are you going to London? Harry asked, trying to keep things friendly. Taking Dudley to hospital, growled Uncle Vernon. Got to have that ruddy tail removed before he goes to Smeltings. Harry woke up at 5 o'clock the next morning and was too excited and nervous to go back to sleep. He got up and pulled on his jeans because he didn't want to walk into the station with his wizard's robes. He'd change in the train. He checked his Hogwarts list yet again to make sure he had everything he needed, saw that Hagrid was shut safely in her cage, and then paced the room, waiting for the Dursleys to get up. 2 hours later, Harry's huge, heavy trunk had been loaded into the Dursleys' car. Aunt Petunia had talked Dudley into sitting next to Harry, and they had set off. They reached King's Cross at 10:30. Uncle Vernon dumped Harry's trunk onto a trolley and wheeled it into the station for him. Harry thought this way was strangely kind until Uncle Vernon stopped dead, facing the platforms with a nasty grin on his face. Well, there you are, boy. Platform 9, platform 10. Your platform should be somewhere in the middle, but they don't seem to have built it yet, do they? He was quite right, of course. There was a big plastic number 9 over the platform, and a big plastic number 10 over the one next to it, and in the middle, nothing at all. Have a good time, said Uncle Vernon with an even nastier smile. He left without another word. Harry turned and saw the Dursleys drive away. All 3 of them were laughing. Harry's mouth went rather dry. What on earth he was going to do? He was starting to attract a lot of funny looks because of Hagrid. He'd have to ask someone. He stopped a passing guard, but didn't dare mention platform 9 3/4. The guard never ever heard of Hogwarts, and when Harry couldn't tell him what part of the country it was in, He started to get annoyed, as though Harry was being stupid on purpose. Getting desperate, Harry asked for the train that left at 11 o'clock, but the guard said there wasn't one. In the end, the guard strode away, muttering about time wasters. Harry was now trying hard not to panic. According to the large clock over the arrivals board, he had 10 minutes left to get on the train to Hogwarts. After he had no idea how to do it, he was stranded in the middle of the station with a trunk he could hardly lift, a pocket full of wizard money, and a large owl. Hagrid must have forgotten to tell him something he had to do, like tapping the third brick on the left to get into the diagon alley. He wondered if he should get out his wand and start tapping the ticket box between platforms 9 and 10. At that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words of they were staying. Packed with muggles, of course. Harry swung around. The speaker was a plump woman who was talking to 4 boys, all with flaming red hair. Each of them was pushing a trunk like Harry's in front of him, and they had an owl. Heart hammering, Harry pushed his trowel after them. They stopped, and so did he, just near enough to hear what they were saying. "Now, what's the platform number?" said the boy's mother. 9 3/4, piped a small girl, also red-headed, who was holding her mom. Can I go?" "You're not an aunt, Ginny. Now be quiet." "All right, Percy, you go first." What looked like the oldest boy marched toward platforms 9 and 10. Harry watched, careful not to blink in case he missed it. But just as the boy reached the divide between the 2 platforms, a large crowd of tourists came swarming in front of him, and by the time the last rucksack has cleared away, the boy had vanished. "Fred, you're next," the plump woman said. "I'm not Fred, I'm George," said the boy. "Honestly, woman, call yourself our mother. Can't you tell I'm George?" "Sorry, George, dear." "Only joking, I'm Fred," said the boy, and off he went. His twin called after him to hurry up, and he must have done, because a second later he had gone. But how had he done it? Now the third buzzer was walking briskly towards the ticket barrier. He was almost there, and then, quite suddenly, he wasn't anywhere. There was nothing else for it. "Excuse me," Harry said to the plump woman. "Hello, dear," she said. "First time at Hogwarts. Ron's new too." She pointed at the last and youngest of her sons. He was tall, thin, and gangling, with freckles, big hands and feet, and a long nose. "Yeah," said Harry. The thing is, I don't know how to get on the platform," she said kindly, and Harry nodded. "Not to worry," she said. "All you have to do is walk straight the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Don't stop and don't be scared. You'll crash into it. That's very important. Best do it a bit of a run if you're nervous. Go on. Go now before wrong." Okay, said Harry. He pushed his trolley around and stared at the barrier. It looked very solid. He started to walk towards it. People just let him on the way to platforms 9 and 10. Harry walked more quickly. He was going to smash... right into the ticket box, and then he'd be in trouble. Leaning forward on his trolley, he broke into a heavy run. The barrier was coming nearer and nearer. He wouldn't be able to stop. The trolley was out of control. He was a foot away. He closed his eyes, ready for the crash. It didn't come. He kept on running. He opened his eyes. A scarlet steam engine was waiting next to a platform packed with people. A sign overhead said Hogwarts Express, 11 o'clock. Harry looked behind him and saw a wrought iron archway where the ticket box had been, with the words Platform 9 3/4 on it. He had gone in. Smoke from the engine drifted over the heads of the chattering crowd, while cats of every color wound there and the bean between the legs. All hooted to each other in a discontented sort of way, or with a bubble and the scraping of heavy trunks. The first few carriages were already packed with students, some hanging out of the window to talk to their families, some fighting over seats. Harry pushed his trolley off down of the platform in search of an empty seat. He passed a round-faced boy who was saying, "Gran, I lost